You want to pray, you genuinely want to, but you sit down and nothing comes. No words, no feeling, just silence. And maybe the most painful thing is this: at the moment you need God the most, reaching Him feels hardest. Maybe you are exhausted. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe you have been praying for a long time and no answer is coming. Maybe there is so much inside you that you do not know where to start, and this thought goes through your mind. Does this count as prayer? Can you pray without words? Wait a moment, because today we are going to talk about something very important about God. God does not hear words, He hears the heart, and that difference changes your entire prayer life. Now maybe this is going through your mind, but I cannot approach God without praying. I need to pray with the right words, the right way. That is easy to say, but hear this. Where does that thought come from? Religion taught it. The right words, the right format, the right length. And you could not fit into those patterns. Or after fitting in, you felt empty. And now you are not even trying to pray, because you say, it won't work anyway. But notice this: the most powerful prayers in the Bible are the ones with the fewest words. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus said only this: "Take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." 2 sentences. And those 2 sentences were the deepest prayer in human history. David in the Psalms just cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" One question, not words, a cry, and God heard him. This is more important than you think, because the thought, "I cannot pray," over time turns into the belief, "God is not speaking to me." And that belief creates distance. The distance grows, the silence stretches. And one day you say, what difference does it make anyway? This is bondage, and it starts with words. Here are 5 ways to pray when you have no words. Sign 1. Just sit. That is also a prayer. This sounds too simple, but hear this. Romans 8:26 says, "The Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans." Wordless groans. God hears not just your words, but your groans too. So that moment when you sit, the moment when you cannot say anything, when you just exist, the Holy Spirit is already speaking. You do not have to speak. Just be there. Try just this today. Sit down, close your eyes, say, "God, I am here." Just that. The rest is His work. Sign 2. Use someone else's prayer. If you have no words, borrow someone else's words. This is not wrong. This is wise. The Psalms were written exactly for this. David's words have been the prayer of millions of people for thousands of years. Open Psalm 23. Open Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength. Read it out loud. That is your prayer. Or just say this: God, I am giving these words back to you. This is my prayer. If you cannot find words, the words of the Bible are always there for you. Sign 3. Let your body pray. This sounds strange, but hear this. Sometimes words do not come because the mind is exhausted, but the body can still move. Kneel. That is a prayer. Hold your hands open, palms facing upward. That is a prayer. Cry. That is a prayer. Say "God" out loud, even if you cannot say anything else. That is a prayer. The deepest moments of worship in the Bible are most often physical. Falling face down, kneeling, raising hands. The body can go ahead of the mind, and God hears the body too. Sign 4. Start with gratitude, no matter how small. This feels hard, especially in heavy seasons. But try this. Find one thing you can be grateful for today. Let it be small, even very small. I woke up this morning. Thank you. I can breathe. Thank you. I am still here. Thank you. Philippians 4:6 says, "In every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God." With thanksgiving. Gratitude opens the door of prayer, and once that door opens, words start coming too. Sign 5. Accept silence as prayer. This is perhaps the most important way and the least taught. God speaks in silence too. Sometimes the silence itself is a prayer. In 1 Kings 19, Elijah was tired. He was burnt out. And what did God do? He said, "Get up and eat." He gave him water. He gave him bread. He said, "The journey is too much for you." God did not ask Elijah to pray. He asked him to rest. Sometimes what God is saying to you is not, "Speak." It is, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. Sit inside the silence and let God speak. Now I need to stop here and be honest. Sometimes running out of words can be the sign of a real spiritual problem. Sometimes sin created a distance. Sometimes the heart hardened. Sometimes there is an anger or disappointment toward God. In that case, just sit may not be enough. If you have been feeling far from God for a long time and that distance is growing, you need to honestly ask what is behind it. But if you are simply tired, burnt out, or do not know what to say, know that this is completely normal, and God knows this. And even in this state, He hears you. So what will you do today? First, set aside just 1 minute today. Without words, just sit and say, "God, I am here." 1 minute, that is enough. Second, choose a psalm and read it out loud. Psalm 23, 46, or 139. Just read it. That is your prayer. Third, find one thing to be grateful for today, no matter how small, and tell it to God. One sentence. Prayer can be that simple. Words do not run out. They just sometimes stay inside. And God hears what stays inside too. Romans 8:26 is a promise. The Holy Spirit intercedes for us, even when we have no words. So at that moment when you think you cannot pray, the Holy Spirit is already speaking. You are not alone, not even in your silence. Write this in the comments. God, even without words, I am here. Let that not just be a comment. Let that be one of the deepest prayers. And if this video helped your transformation, subscribe to this channel, because here we do not just produce content, we pursue real transformation.